The Footballtribeug channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back. Welcome back from all your respective hustles today. For those of you that have retired at the end of the day, for those of you that are still right at it, I hope everything is going on well for you guys over there in your respective endeavors. But wow, what is this? Anyways, it's a pleasure to be back. It's really, really good to be back, guys. Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that. Anyways, there's something I'm just realizing, and it has to do with the Liverpool game against Athletic Bilbao. From what I'm getting here, is that Liverpool had it's like they played a junior team earlier on, and now the seniors are playing. It's something that I had not noticed, I must be honest. And no wonder Woodman was Freddie Woodman was playing in the other one, Javier Elliott, Curtis Jones. But because I saw Timikas and McAllister and Darwin Nunes, I was wondering what's happening, I was wondering what's happening. And now there's an ongoing game between Liverpool and Bilbao, and it's in the 51st minute. It's 1-1. So, anyways, we will try to follow the updates from that side as well as the day goes. Hugo Ekitike started in that one. Let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see how everything will fare on. But I do come on a very, very miserable note, if we are being honest, really. I just witnessed the Uganda Cranes be thrashed by 3 goals to nil against Algeria in the Chan tournament here down in Africa. So it's not really, it's not pretty. Yeah, it's been sad. It was a big, terrible loss that we had to witness over there. But anyways, it is what it is. We have to sort of pat ourselves on the back and move on. But yeah, that game between please, for those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and welcome to the Footballtribeug channel. Hip hop dancer KK says hi. Hi, hip hop dancer. Why are you joining us from this Monday night / evening, depending on what time zone you are in? For us, it's already 10 minutes past the hour, 11 p.m. Here in Kampala, Uganda. And a majority of our fans that managed to make it to the stadium just returned from the Mandela National Stadium, Nambole, where Uganda Cranes did lose by 3 goals to nil against Algeria in the African Nations Championships, in brackets CHAN, or as it is commonly referred to as CHAN. So do let me know where you're joining us from, and I'll be reading your comments as we get, settled in for today's conversation. But yeah, this kind of revelation I'd not anticipated. I thought I'd watched the main event, the main game, and it was concluded. That's the game between Liverpool and Villarreal. Kadroli, hi Kadroli, your Viresh Kadroli from India. Hi, how is India? It's good to have you on the broadcast. How is India? What part of India are you joining us from, and what time is it over there? We also have different time zones in India, the way it is with Russia. Anyways, so I mean, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I missed this, because I spent the last 1 hour almost doing other things that I could have used to keep tabs with this game. let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. Uh huh. I'm from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for asking. I'm from Kampala, Uganda. That's where I'm coming to you live from. uh, anyways, I mean, like I said, it's been a bit of a difficult day. The conclusion to the day wasn't great because Uganda Cranes did lose their game by 3 goals to 0 against Algeria. I thought we did not really compete, especially in the first half. We struggled to get our best players on the ball, especially the players like Alan Okero, Jutse Mugabi, Patrick Kakande, players like that. I thought we really struggled to get them onto the game. But I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes, how is it, man? Tester for life. I was saying it's been a bit of a difficult day. At least the conclusion to the day, I wasn't good at all because we did lose. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Liverpool are getting a second goal against Bilbao. So they lead 2-1, and uh, all the celebrations are going to Hugo Ekitike, who seems to have buried that chance. I have to, watch the replay for me to tell you who actually scored. So, yeah, how is South Africa? Tester, how has been your day? I hope it's been great. That was offside. Anyway, it was a ball from the goalkeeper that is applied in the direction of Etike. Is it Etike that gets it over the line, or it's Cody Gakpo? Bit of a difficult angle that I'm watching this. It's actually Cody Gakpo. It's actually Cody Gakpo that gets it over the line to make it 2-1 for Liverpool there against Athletic Bilbao. When I watched that game, that the 1-4 the Rio Ngomoha, is it Ngoni or Ngoni? There's another young kid. I thought that was the main game, and I did not think that there was this other game that the Federico Chiesas were going to play. But anyways, Liverpool Chronicles aside, let's kick things off with Uganda. Like I said, your favorite football player name at the moment or of all time? Because that may depend. If you're asking at the moment, that's different. If you're asking of all time, then the answer may also be different. So my favorite player of all time is Ronaldinho Gaucho de Assis Moreira. It was good. Was working, got home around 3 p.m. At least I'm off on Wednesday. How have you been? I've been all right. Jacob John, hi, I'm from South Sudan, living in New York. God bless you and your family. We all love Africa from all countries. Thank you so much. Jacob John, South Sudan are our immediate neighbors on the northern part of the side of the country. So I'm from Uganda, particularly Kampala, Uganda. Hello, Pedri. Guys, I do not know. By the way, this one has been a difficult one for me to get to, especially given that kind of results. We had Gezala, Bentaha, and Bayazidi. Yes, those were the goal scorers for Algeria as they beat up against Uganda Cranes by 3 goals to 0 at the Mandela National Stadium, Namboli. And that's for Group C. The earlier fixture between Guinea and Niger had ended in favor of, excuse me, the earlier game between Guinea and Niger had ended in favor of Guinea, winning that game by 1-0 at the same venue. So the games will continue. What do you think about South Sudanese? I do not know much of them beyond their description that they are very tall people. I know they love their sports, especially when it comes to basketball. I know their national team has been sort of growing, very competitive. Jean Seninde, a Ugandan, has been really helping with the South Sudanese ladies side and female football and things like that. But of course, it's not easy given the sometimes very limited resources at their disposal to try and grow the sports. So, yeah. And then the other things that I know about South Sudan, if I'm being honest, they are not good. It's the wars, the political bickering, reported embezzlement and things like that, which is not too unique to South Sudan, but given how young a nation South Sudan is in the context of their official separation from main Sudan, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. But anyways, in the context of Uganda Cranes, I thought we really struggled, especially to create chances in the first half. Like I said, we did struggle to get our best players on the ball. It didn't really look pretty at all. I do not know why LiveScore is not bringing those lineups. I would have loved to go through some of those, especially the Uganda Cranes team that made the starting 11 today. And David Martinez speak Spanish? No. Do I even know any word in Spanish? Etiendes? Does it mean? It means do you understand? Then what was the other word? Carimuncho? Oh, mucho gracias. Yes. And then vamos. Does that mean come on? Maybe those are the words I'll try to mumble in Spanish, but I do not know much of Spanish. Anyways, we had Motakuwa in goal. We had Gavin Kizito at right back. We had George Odong and then Alfred Odong, Torach. Most people had expected Hilary Mukundani to be part of this team. Then we had Joseph Serunjoji, Alan Okero, Sevagala, Enyam, Jude Semugabi, and Patrick Kakande. Of course, many amendments are made to this starting 11. We did not defend well, especially when it came to that the first goal that we considered. It was off a set piece. Defenders failed to clear the lines, and that ball somehow ended at the other back end of the goal before it was headed into the back of the net. So overall, but of course, I also do acknowledge that Algeria is a much stronger team than we are. They do compete very favorably. They have a much stronger domestic league than we do. But oftentimes on home soil, when you come to Nambole, it's not every day that Uganda gets to lose at Nambole, but it is what it is. We have the best basketball team in Africa in recent times, but I know Nigerians have done well over the years. Angola have done really well when it comes to basketball. Recently, Uganda's I think they're called the Silverbacks, have made some strides in the right direction, playing at at FIBA and things like that. Rwanda are not too far off, but yeah, South Sudanese are really positioning themselves as the best basketball players in Africa in recent times. That's why some of their players, I won't say many, but some of their players have gotten moves to the NBA and getting drafted there. So yeah, in that sense. Have you had Ball? He is the best. And not really. I must be honest. As much as I love basketball, I do not get the chance to follow it that much. And the reason for me, my challenge is this. It's usually with the time. Tribe, do you follow all leagues all over the world? Do you prefer a specific league? I do not want to say I prefer a specific league. I try to follow as much football as I can. That's how I would put it. Because, for example, depending on what's at my disposal, I'll follow the Spanish league. For example, I wouldn't sit to watch a game between West Ham United and Burnley if Barcelona is playing against Sevilla, or if Barcelona is playing against Rayo Vallecano. I'll watch a Barcelona game. So, and then my limitations are to do with access. For example, I never get to watch the French League One, and that particularly is due to is likely been due to lack of access. Meanwhile, Liverpool have considered an equalizer here, so it's 2-2 against Athletic Bilbao. So and then like the German Bundesliga, I do not get to follow those leagues. The Dutch Eredivisie, I do not get to follow them that much because of limitations to access. But at least in years gone by, I've endeavored to try and follow the Premier League is number one. That's, if I'm being honest, it's number one, partly because of access. Two is the Spanish La Liga, and then the Italian Serie A. Those are the leagues that I try to follow as much as possible, and in that very order. And then it will span off to the continental competitions. That's the UEFA Champions League, the UEFA Europa League. Now, I do not get to follow the UEFA Conference League as much because it coincides with the UEFA Europa League, which is oftentimes a bigger competition. So I'd rather watch a game between, let's say, AC Roma and Copenhagen, as opposed to watching maybe if Chelsea are playing a certain team from Latvia, just because it's in the UEFA Conference League. So in that kind of sense, back on home soil, I do not follow the domestic league that much. And the reason for that is dates to as far back as more than a decade ago when we had issues with but that's in terms of supporting. But in terms of writing, because I'd stepped away from active journalism in terms of writing sports news, I'd totally gone into a different industry that did not permit me the time to follow the domestic league as much as I would have loved to. So little by little, I grew apart, but I did not break entirely apart. So I'll keep, snippets. I'll pick on snippets of information about, how teams are performing, who is the top scorer, things like that, the best players, what team is doing what team is struggling, usually financially and things like that. Referee wrangles or teams being penalized for, maybe fielding a player that shouldn't have played, things like that. So in that context, but I hope that answers your question. Then to get back to Jacob John, because I do not know the best player so far, as you stated, is particularly the NBA usually kicks off at around 2:30 a.m. East African time. Now, for a person that has been working since morning, since usually around 8 a.m. to up to 2 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. depending on my day, it's oftentimes very difficult for me to sit through and watch an NBA game entirely, and then, or even sometimes, because some come at 2:30, some come at 3, sometimes at 4 a.m. It's very hard for me to do a 24-hour, of watching sport, and yet the following day I have to, get back to the normal schedule, and watch. So as much as I would love, I would particularly love to be following athletics and get to know how, the athletics people are doing, Hariman Nakai, Winnie Nanyondo, our, Joshua Cheptegei, Jacob Kiplimo, how they are performing when it comes to athletics. I would want to follow that. Maybe I would want to follow Lewis Hamilton, how he's doing, but maybe I would want to, follow MotoGP, but time and access oftentimes limit that. And then the other thing is, for example, the South African League. It's a league that we love to watch, by the way, as Ugandans, particularly because of the Ugandans that play their game from there. But also, sometimes your hands are tied, one, because you do not follow it that adherently, you may not know the fixture schedule and who is playing who, but once in a while when you're scrolling through your TV, you'll find maybe Kaizer Chiefs is playing, you'll find Mamelodi Sundowns is playing, and you get to watch that. Maybe Mamelodi is playing against Amazulu, like that. So I can't tell you, I would be lying if I said I follow all leagues, around the world. I'd be lying, honestly speaking, because and let's be honest, sometimes games are played around the same time, and you can only watch maybe 1 or 2 games if you're concentrating. What do you think? What do you do for a living at Tribe? I do content creation. I do digital marketing, among other things. So, digital marketing consultancy, social media management, and things like that. That's where I do. But I also do other works depending on what's available. At the end of the day, it's about survival, but that's my primary work. And then this work of content creation. And now, when it comes to content creation, part of it is in the other side of the digital marketing, where you get to guide on processes of content creation for other brands like that. And then this, my personal thing, content creation gig here, which I get to do every single day. And I've been trying to give it as much time as I can. And people always ask, do you do other things? And what's happening with you? So basically, that's how my day would look like. I'll get up in the morning, I'll do my other work, and then I try to make sure that by 9 a.m. I'm ready to do this, live broadcast, including doing the research, picking on information, background checks on certain information that are sipped through my channels to say, okay, I need to verify that, does that have any correctness to it before I bring it before my audience, and things like that. That's why sometimes when people ask me questions about certain players or certain news, I'm open to tell you that I've not yet heard about that, or I'll try to go back and check on it. For example, when Pedri came and brought us the information about meanwhile Liverpool have scored the third goal and they are leading 3-2 at the moment. I think the goal has been scored by Cody Gakpo. Is it? Oh wow! Cody Gakpo is the goal scorer once again. Here, ball is a bit fumbled in the area. They failed to clear, and he managed just to dodge past a couple of players before burying that ball beyond the goalkeeper. So it's 3-2 in favor of Liverpool. So I was giving you an example. Like the other day, Pedri brought us the news that La Liga was introducing the chance, was giving coaches 2 chances to invite referees to review decisions. And it was news to me because I'd not yet heard about that. So he explained to it a little bit about it. I went and did my research and found that it's true. And I understood the mechanisms of it, of how it works. So yeah, sometimes, and that's why I've always told you guys, I never want this to be a one-ended conversation, because I pick lots of information off of you guys that perhaps maybe sometimes you pick on off of me unknowingly. So while you may be sipping from me, but I also get to sip from you because you bring bits of information, especially from most specifically when it comes maybe to teams that you may follow religiously, maybe from leagues that you pay more attention than I may do sometimes, but I try to compress as much knowledge about everything that is happening around football as much as I can. So in that new rule, for example, of La Liga, is that coaches are going to be given 2 chances to invite referees to the monitor or for a VAR review upon making a decision that they do not agree with or that they think has not been well assessed. However, if that team or if that manager invites the referee to the monitor and they do a VAR review, and it turns out that the referee sticks to their earlier decision, or they do not get to overturn the decision they had already made, then that coach or that team loses the second opportunity to invite the referee for another VAR review. So coaches are going to be allowed to use the video assistant referees to help keep some checks and balances. However, if, for example, a coach, let's say Xabi Alonso, invites the referee to the monitor to do a video with the help of the video assistant referee, and the referee ends up changing their earlier decision, then that means that Xabi Alonso still has another opportunity to leverage on should there be another decision that is worth summoning the referee to the monitor in that kind of context. Is it your own business or are you employed by someone? It's freelance. It's freelance. It's self-employed. I'm self-employed. So I get to, speak to clients about their businesses. If we do agree, then we sign a contract and we work together. And I push their brands. So I do marketing consultancy like that, and a lot of other things. I'm also a writer. I love writing, so you may find my work or voice or somewhere else that is way totally on the opposite side of football and sport. So do not be surprised if you ever find that. Casper, Casper, hi Casper, good to have you. Swedish pounds. Hi, how are you doing? Good to have you on the broadcast. But Testa, I hope that answers your questions about about my personal bit of life or the other part of this life that we'll get to to share on. Anyways, guys, I think I've answered all those questions. Let's move away from the Uganda Cranes and a miserable loss to Algeria, and move on to VFB Stuttgart, who want to sign Arsenal's 25-year-old Portuguese forward, Fabio Vieira. They've made inquiries with Arsenal. They are in talks with Arsenal. No bid has been made yet, but those talks are ongoing. They do want to sign the 25-year-old on a permanent deal. So let's wait and see what the transfer fees could be, or what Arsenal's asking price for Fabio Vieira could be in this particular case. But yeah, Stuttgart are really, really interested in signing Fabio Vieira from Arsenal. I mean, it's an open secret that Arsenal would want to move him on. He's one of those players in the squad that they want to move on. But that exclusive was again brought by David Austin of The Athletic, who said Stuttgart are pursuing a deal to sign Fabio Vieira, 25-year-old attacking midfielder, spent last season out on loan. You will also remember him featuring for FC Porto at the FIFA Club World Cup because the club had permitted that. And the reason partly for that was to Fabio Vieira to get to be showcased on another scene, so that perhaps it either retains his current value or further increases it a little bit. He had a fairly, I would say, fairly good season with FC Porto last season. His numbers when it came to goals and assists weren't that many. I think they were about 4 goals and 4 assists. But he's a very, very good player. He's a very exciting player. And for me, I remember even when he had just signed for Arsenal, my reservation about him, even with all the clips I'd watched, was about his physique. I was like, is he going to be able to handle the Premier League? Because he was not to the class of Mesut Ozil. He was not to the class of David Silva, He was not in that bucket, and yet he looked still a few inches off Joan Manuel Mata, and physically, I mean, I always thought myself, isn't he going to get knocked off the park? Really? Of course, they tried with him, to build him physically and that kind of thing. And for 2 seasons, he didn't bear fruit. That's how he got sent out on, loan at FC Porto last season. So VFB Stuttgart did approach, Arsenal on a permanent move. So no agreement is yet in place between the club and Stuttgart, but yeah, it's a deal that is being worked on at the moment. Then also away from that, still in Everton continue with their pursuit for Tyler Dibling, although I feel Southampton are sort of the price tag for English players, and I've always said this: there's always an English tax when you're buying an English-born player. I do not know why. Yes, I understand this idea of domestic talent, and what kind of leverage it gives you, homegrown, player. But I mean, demanding in the excess of £40 million for Tyler Dibling. I mean, yes, we know at one point they valued him at £100 million, but he was never worth that. He's never been worth even half that, in my personal opinion. Because tell me, what has Tyler Dibling done in his Premier League career, which only spans over 1 season? At the age of 19 years old, I would, qualify him to be worth, north of £40 million. So, I mean, I do not see it really. I do not see it, in my opinion, and I wait to be proved otherwise. I wait to be proved otherwise when it comes to a player like him. I do not know what you guys think. I do not. I would be interested in knowing what you guys think about Tyler Dibling. But for me, he is not really worth that. He is not really worth that. He is not worth that. I mean, last season in the Premier League, 33 games, 2 goals, and 0 assists. I mean, so what statistically, yes, he may look exciting on his feet and everything like that. I know his former manager, I think Russell Martin. No, was it Russell Martin? No. But his former Southampton manager did, sing all heaps of praises for him. But again, for me, it still doesn't explain why he would be priced that high. We've seen lots of exciting young players. It's like Arsenal waking up to say that if you were to sell Max Dorman, he's worth 40 million pounds. He's barely done anything, he's barely done anything. So basically, Tyler Dibling was the same, was the same. So I do not see how that should change in the context of of this same player, Yeah. Yes, it was Russell Martin. It was Russell Martin. Yes, I'm right. He really speak glowingly of him and was saying, I think he is the most, he is the best young player at the moment, and speaking in prospectiveness, he thought he was going to be the next big thing in English football. But tell me, what has he done to show that he is going to be worth that? I have not seen personally. But anyways, Everton are really, really interested in signing him. Their first bid was worth about 27 million pounds, which was turned down, and then they did make another bid, according to the Athletic, in the region of 40 million pounds, with the expected. And according to reports, Southampton are going to turn it down. Southampton are going to turn it down. Meanwhile, Liverpool have a penalty. Oh, Tester says, let me share as well. I run my daddy's business in his store. I'm his store manager in retail, and I work really long hours. Okay. On the 1st of August was our 8-year anniversary. Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations. Mohamed Salah has missed a penalty, by the way, against Athletic Bilbao. He's blazed that over the bar. Very, very uncharacteristic of Mo Salah. But anyways, it remains 3-2 in favor of Liverpool over Athletic Bilbao. And the reason why I say congratulations, I do live in a country where businesses struggle, one, to see their first birthday or to see their first anniversary. Usually businesses in Uganda, whether small or big or medium sized, but usually small businesses or startup businesses, retail, wholesale sometimes, depending on what line of products they are in, usually, but mostly retail. Within a period of 6 months, they're gone. Sometimes, if they do last long, 1 year, and they're gone. So for you to have made it thus far, I mean, congratulations to you. I hope all the hard work, the long hours of hard work do pay off for you. And yeah, you live to succeed and perhaps even open more branches. There's a way, Vosi Tembagwayo usually called it in his conversations when it came to retail businesses in South Africa. There's a specific word that he often used. Especially when we're studying conversations about South African townships in which they go in. They're called what? I'm forgetting the word. But if I do remember it, I'll bring it to the hold so that, oh, wow, what a save. Mama Dashville forced into a brilliant save here. The game remains 3-2 in favor of Liverpool. We are into the 85th minute thereabout. Anyways, I was still speaking about Tyler Dibling. I mean, for me, he's not worth that money. But according to David Austin, Everton made an improved offer to Southampton for Tyler Dibling. Latest proposal was worth in the region of £40 million, including add-ons, but the Saints are expected to reject it. Want a higher fee for the 19-year-old winger. England Youth International are keen on a Premier League return. Now, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. And by the mere fact that Everton could go that high in terms of, the fee, again, speaks volumes about the player, but it just doesn't change the fact for me that I do not think it's worth that. Anyways, at Manchester City, they have reached an agreement in principle with Ruben Diaz to sign a new contract. The 28-year-old Portuguese centre back. Existing terms were scheduled to expire in June 2027. So fresh deal secures a long-term future for the for the centre back. And yeah, Man City, they are making another move. I think previously contracts that had been renewed was Nico O'Reilly, who was a target for Bayer Leverkusen and things like that. Then Chelsea are on a massive, clearance sale, and the reason for that is because they promised UEFA, they do have an agreement with UEFA in principle after being sanctioned for being found in breach of the financial fair play rules, that they would get their books in balance, and part of that includes moving on players. We know they've moved on players like George Petrovic is already left the club. We're talking about permanent moves to go and join Bournemouth. That's the goalkeeper. We know about Joao Felix left for Al Nassr in a permanent move. Then they've moved on Amado Broja to Burnley, and also following him at Burnley is Leslie Ugochukwu, another player that is also agreed a 5-year contract with Burnley, because that exclusive was once again broken by David Austin, saying Burnley had reached an agreement with Chelsea to sign Leslie Ugochukwu, 21-year-old, set to travel for a medical and complete a permanent move from Chelsea to Burnley on a 5-year contract. French Youth International significantly bolstered Scott Parker's, at number 6 or number 8 role. So he can play as a 6 and he can also play as an 8. Do you think English players cost more because they require less paperwork for them to transfer? I mean, there's I do not think it's really to do with less paperwork, but there's this thing of having homegrown players, because, for example, if you have a player for 2 years before they reach 21, they're going to be considered as a homegrown player, even if they are not a national. Now, for a player like Tyler Dibling, it's homegrown, but also an England international. And it comes with the cap of the rules within the Premier League that you must have a certain number of England internationals or English players within your squad. So there is that. So because selling clubs oftentimes know that teams are buying English players to fulfill that rule, they overprice them. But also the taxes that you pay off an English player are oftentimes lower than the taxes you pay on a foreign player, So the side of paper could have a part of it, because I mean, there's nothing like work permit, processing, etc. But I've always called it the English tax. The English tax. It always bothers me. I never thought that Jack Grealish was ever worth, £100 million. I remember the time when Manchester City bought John Stones from Everton. I did not think he was worth £50 million, in my opinion. Maybe Kyle Walker from Tottenham Hotspur to Manchester City was worth that, but so many English players have been sold quite expensively, trading between teams. And guess what, usually? And this is what I always say. Look at when foreign teams are buying these players. They oftentimes buy them on a cheap. You see, for example, Job Bellingham, who has gone to Borussia Dortmund from Sunderland. Just imagine he was leaving Sunderland to go to Manchester United, to go to Chelsea. Instead of going for 33 million euros like he did, he would have gone for another 17 more. He would have gone for about 50 million euros. So there's that English tax within the English Premier League when it comes to player trading. But yeah, Chelsea are continue. Now, while they're on a clearance sale, they are also still shipping in. Yesterday, we were talking about Joel Hato was announced. They continue to pursue Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho. And yet, we're talking about balancing the books. They are willing to listen to offers for Nicholas Jackson. They want to move on Canary Chukwuemeka. Let's just wait and see how everything will go down with Chelsea. But that's also part of what they are trying to do. Then also the other player is let's talk about Benjamin Sesko. Today, reports do suggest that Newcastle have set a 48-hour ultimatum for Benjamin Sesko to decide on where he wants to join, because they do not want to linger around in the dark for so long until the end of the week. They've given him 48 hours to decide whether it's going to be Newcastle or whether it will be Manchester United, because they believe they have a deal that could be acceptable to RB Leipzig, but they are yet to get the green light on the player side. And before they get that, they feel they do not want to move forward. So it wouldn't be any good for them to have everything agreed in principle with RB Leipzig, and yet the player is still playing hardball. The player is still, are waiting to decide, taking edges. I mean, is it an easy decision if you have to choose between Newcastle and Manchester United? I would say yes and no. The reason as to why I say yes is if it is about money, go with whoever offers more money. It could be that simple. When it comes to guaranteed playing time, you're guaranteed to have more playing time at Newcastle than you would have at Manchester United. Let's bearing in mind that Manchester United still have on their hands a Rasmus Højlund, a Joshua Zirkzee. Of course, I do not know what this would mean for Chido Martin Obi, but also we've seen you have a manager like Ruben Amorim, who's last season at some point played Kobe Mainoo as their false nine. So you never know where it lands. And when it comes to history and pedigree, we cannot compare Manchester United to Newcastle. So that's out of the window. So if it's about the history of the club, the size of the club in global brand and standard, then Manchester United is the team to go with. If UEFA Champions League is important to you, or European football is important to you at all, as often is always claimed, then Newcastle have UEFA Champions League football. Manchester United, they have nights out when it comes to midweek next season. They'll be out partying on Wednesdays, on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, because they have nothing to do. They'll be watching movies, and maybe perhaps eavesdropping on other teams that they want to banter when it comes to their exploits on the European scene. So, I mean, it should be easy. It should be easy. It should be an easy decision if those are the criteria. But if it boils down to where you think is more favorable to stay in terms of environment or climate, then climate-wise, Manchester may be a better place to be than Newcastle, because Newcastle is apparently very cold and things like that. That's according to what we gather. I won't speak about so much particulars about their climate because I've never been there, but it is said that players are often reluctant to go up north because it's so cold. Remember, that part is closer to Scotland. No, is it? It's closer to Ireland, and it's so cold. Their summers are extreme. Their winters are extreme and everything like that. But predominantly, it's more cold than other parts of the country. So that could be a factor. So I think Newcastle are right to set the ultimatum to say the player needs to decide, so that they know if they know they are losing out on him, and then they move on to other targets. He wouldn't be the first. They would simply have to count their losses and move on. Yesterday, I did reveal news to you that they are weighing up a move for Goncalo Ramos from PSG, should they fail in their pursuit for Benjamin Sesko. So I think Newcastle do deserve to get that sort of insight in making sure this deal is wrapped up as soon as possible. So, but that's to do with some of the major transfer news that has been happening throughout the course of the day. Of course, there's plenty more to it than what we sometimes let out. Because if we sit here to read about transfer news from the major top 5 leagues in the in Europe, then we may spend an entire day going through those. Maybe the exciting news: Chelsea players did return back for training after that a break. Remember, they were part of the FIFA Club World Cup. So after that, which climaxed on July the 13th, they went for their summer break, which is lasted a little over 2-3 weeks. About 3 weeks. It's lasted about 3 weeks. So it was a much needed break. But also Wesley Fofana, who missed that tournament, is back in training. I suspect it won't be too long before he gets injured again, because he's that kind of player, very good defender, but oftentimes injured. Who do you think will win a 100-meter sprint between Ronaldo and Usain Bolt? I think Usain Bolt wins it by mile. I mean, Usain Bolt trained 9 years to run for 9 seconds. I mean, even prime Ronaldo, I know. Actually, in that very comparison, I think prime Theo Walcott would outrun prime Ronaldo. Prime Hector Bellerin would outrun prime Ronaldo. Prime Kyle Walker would outrun, Cristiano Ronaldo. That's how I think about it. I think there's a good number of players that are faster than Cristiano Ronaldo when it comes to that sprint. I mean, I remember seeing Hector Bellerin, Kyle Walker, and Theo Walcott do that sprint from one end of the pitch to the other. Oh my God! And maybe this is not a statement of fact, but I have a feeling even Gabriel Martinelli, because he's highly spoken about at Arsenal as the fastest player they know in that squad. So I think Usain Bolt, wins that race by a mile. I mean, just go back to what was it? 2012, 2013, 2009, around. I think the 2012 Olympics in London. Then you go to the 2013 World Championships in Russia. Then you go to 2014. I do not remember, was he part of the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow? I stand to be corrected on that one. But during that spell, oh my, Usain Bolt. By the way, even Ryan, sorry, not Noah Lyle, but not Noah Lyle. There's Johan Blake. I think he used to run with Bolt. Johan Blake used to be very, very fast. Johan Blake. Yes, Johan Blake. He was also a Jamaican sprinter. I think even him would beat Ronaldo in 100 meters. So that's how much I think good. That's how good I think Bolt was. Anyways, the other snippets of transfer news. Tyler Morton did complete the first part of his medical to join, Olympic Lyon from Liverpool. That's a deal we spoke about the other day. Then the Sunderland manager, that's Regis Libris, did sign a new contract until the summer of 2028. Looks like Sunderland are pretty excited for the season ahead, and are very, very, they think he will get them over the line in terms of keeping them in the Premier League. But let's wait and see. This week is expected to be very, very key for Yohan Wissah's future at Brentford. We know Brentford do not want to sell, but we know the player has asked to leave. He's not handed in a transfer request like Ademola Lookman did at Atlanta. And now, apparently, and this is where, gentlemen's agreements, details get lost or remain subjective to interpretation. Ademola Lookman, handed in a transfer request to Atlanta after Atlanta rejected Inter Milan's last bid, which was worth a total of 45 million euros, 42 million euros guaranteed, and 3 million euros in expected adults. Apparently, he had been promised that he would be allowed to leave this summer for a suitable offer around the mark of 26 million pounds, about that fee. Now, According to the Atlanta president, he says that was only open for foreign teams. And he says the situation with Inter Milan is different. So they are demanding more because it's an Italian team. That's why they want 50 million euros. And I remember reading this and I said to myself, oftentimes we do ask players to be honest or to be loyal to clubs. But how often do clubs be loyal to clubs? So sorry, to these players, to honor their end of the bargain, to say, okay, when we are in this position, we agreed on this, we are going to honor that. And without going back on our word. Because it seems like it's going around a lot more often than we care to admit, Anyways, Dortmund are also expected to sign a Canary Chukwuemeka and are in advanced talks with Chelsea. I remember Chelsea initially, Dortmund wanted to take him on another season-long loan, perhaps with an option to buy, but Chelsea want a permanent exit. And somebody raised a very important question today, especially when it comes to players like Canary Chukwuemeka, Leslie Ugochukwu, Amado Brocha. And the question was as simple as that. What do these players be thinking when they join Chelsea? Because some of them have hardly kicked a ball for Chelsea and they're already leaving. So why join Chelsea at all in the first place? Because some players do join Chelsea well knowing they're not even going to play. I feel for players like Jovan Quenda, he will have to prove us wrong. You're coming in as a youngster, he will be probably 18 or maybe turning 19 by the time he joins at Chelsea next summer in a team that already has loads of talent up front. So, but anyways, it's their decision. It's their careers. They get to decide what to do with them. Then Darwin Núñez, he's been scoring for fun almost, including hat-trick. So he has 5 goals in the last in the last 4 or 5 preseason games. So he's looked really, really impressive. But Al Hilal are hoping to agree terms with the player this week before moving on to have negotiations with Liverpool over his transfer. Let's wait and see. Then quickly, before this turns, into an hour of us doing this, let's look at the latest from the gossip and speculation that there is. We'll start off with things at Newcastle, because Newcastle are set to revive their interest in England defender Magpies with a £40 million offer, while Crystal Palace value the player at about £50 million. That's according to the Times. RB Leipzig's Slovenian striker Benjamin Sesko is playing Newcastle and Manchester United off against each other in a game of a transfer poker. That's according to Bleed in Germany. Then manager David Moyes wants up to 6 more signings for Everton, including 2 central midfielders and 2 wide players. So that's according to the Telegraph. It's no surprise that they are pushing for Tyler Newton. And then Tottenham have been told they will have to pay at least 30 million euros in their pursuit for a Spanish midfielder, Marc Casado. That's all from Barcelona. Now, this is the same player that has been linked with the potential move to Real Betis. That's according to Pedri. He was sharing with us earlier on. So, but Tottenham are pursuing him. Is Arsenal going to win the Emirates Cup on Wednesday? It doesn't climax on Wednesday. Remember, Wednesday is a game against Villarreal, and then on 9th, which will be, I think, a Saturday, they'll play a game against Athletic Bilbao. So, but even if they win it, even if they don't win it, it really doesn't mean much. In any case, for me, I'm more interested in how they play than how they win, than if they win. So, how they play, I think we should be more interested in how they play than if they win. For example, we should be looking out at how Mikel Arteta looks to set up his team, because those 2 matches are going to be the final friendly games before the trip to Old Trafford. So chances are that the starting lineups we may get to see in those teams, in those 2 games, particularly against Villarreal or Athletic Bilbao could be the starting team that starts against Manchester United away from home. So that's what I'll be keen on. But whether they win it or lose it really shouldn't matter to us. Oh, okay, yes. So yeah, but like I said, let's be more concerned on how we play than on if we win. Because if we play well, even if we do not win, then we will use those games to make judgment whether we will compete favorably against Manchester United or it's going to be an uphill battle. Then also, we should be looking towards what players are going to be available at our disposal. We all know that Julian Timber, Gabriel Magalhaes, Ricardo Carafiori were all absentees in that game against Tottenham Hotspurs through minor issues and stuff, So that's what I'm going to be looking out for. Then we know that Leandro Trossard felt something, possibly in his groin. We know that Bukayo Saka had to go off. Ever since then, we yet receive any new training pictures. I hope that today we'll get some training pictures and see if Bukayo Saka is part of that training and things like that. And maybe there's nothing really to worry about him, but I'm always sort of in a way afraid that he could get an injury setback because the player that doesn't often get injured, when they get injured, that once in a while that they do, you do feel for them. Could it be the start of recurring injuries, or it was just a one-off in that kind of sense? So, anyways, Brazilian winger Rodrigo Goes at 24 wants to stay at Real Madrid amid this interest from Tottenham, Arsenal, and Liverpool. That's according to AS in Spanish. Crystal Palace first competition from Juventus for Girona's 22-year-old Spanish right back. And now Martinez, that's according to Toto Sport in Italian, while Napoli and Sweden midfielder Jens Justi at 25 is leaning towards a return to Ipswich rather than a move to Burnley or Saudi Arabia. Now, meanwhile, Burnley hijacked a deal for Chuba Akpom from Ajax to Birmingham. The player was going to Birmingham on loan. His medical was set for today afternoon, and then Ipswich Town came in and hijacked the deal. So that's why I always say transfers are never done until the player is holding your club jersey. Previously, we saw, I think it was around 2013 when Tottenham Hotspurs brought William Borges de Silva with his family and his agent. I think a contingent of about 6 players. Put them in the hotel. Deal took about 4 days. The player did his medical with Tottenham Hotspurs, and he was unveiled at Chelsea. So those things do happen. Real Madrid, Rodrigo, hi, how are you? Good to have you back on the podcast. Although you come at the tail end of it, but it's always a pleasure to see you around. Then we've spoken about Stuttgart's interest in Fabio Vieira. So basically, that's been a part of the gist. And then Porto are also interested in signing a Polish defender, Jakub Kiwior, but are unwilling to meet Arsenal's 30 million euro asking price tag. That's according to Abola in Portugal. I mean, even 26 million pounds is too low for a player of Jakub Kiwior's quality, really. So, anyways, Tottenham are looking to sell Mali midfielder Yves Bissouma, 28, to free up a space for the 25-year-old England and Atletico Madrid midfielder Conor Gallagher. That's according to Football Insider. I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham let go of Yves Bissouma. Not that he's a bad player, but last season wasn't the best of, on his CV. Then West Ham have submitted an improved offer of 10 million pounds to Botafogo for 29-year-old goalkeeper John Victor, while Bayer Leverkusen want Manchester United's Rasmus Højlund at 22, but first competition from AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus for the Denmark striker. That's according to code Offside. So that's the latest from the world of speculation and transfer gossip in as far as today is concerned, as compiled by the BBC Sport. I'll get off the stream now. Tester of life. I'm off now. You must enjoy the rest of your evening, tribe. I really enjoy your broadcasts. You're doing a fantastic job. A good night. Thank you so much, Testa, for being part of us. Pedri is just returning. Salah squad thoughts, but he also missed a penalty. So if when Salah scores, it's no longer news. If Salah doesn't score, that's when it makes more news. So he missed a penalty and he blazed that way over the bar. So that's possibly that is what will make the most news, even though Liverpool managed to win that game by 3-2. I'd not understood the concept that the sort of a more junior team had played earlier, and then there was a more senior team playing, subsequently. So when I watched that game in which Rio Ngomoho squad, I thought that was it. Darwin Nunes squad, that was it. So do you think Salah will downgrade his form from last season? It's a form that is very, very hard to replicate, but also, given the way the manager handles him, it could give him the room to replicate that form, because his responsibilities were reduced to being part of the chasing pack in terms of winning the ball back and pressing really, really high and things like that. But and yet he sort of so he's reduced to being that target man, wait there within certain zones of the pitch, so that when we win the ball back, you're fast ahead, and that gives him the advantage. Where I think his numbers could be affected is if they bring in Alexander Isak, because then the focus could shift to creating more chances for Alexander Isak than more chances being created for Mohamed Salah in that kind of sense. But yeah, those numbers of 28 goals and 18 assists are not very, very easy to replicate, if we are being honest. Do you think, thoughts on us winning 5-0? Of course, that was expected. Almost a perfect score. You guys were here predicting, 5-1, 6-1 last night in regards to that game. But like I told you guys, I was unable to watch that game. I got caught up with my meeting. It took longer than I expected, and there was a lot of traffic jam today on the road. So my movement, back and forth between places, sort of got delayed in between. Then great call. I watched the highlights. I mean, I do not need to watch the highlights because I was, following at least a good chunk of that game. But Mo Salah is expected to score the great goal. There's not much he does that really surprises many of us, if we are being honest. But if he doesn't do those things, that's then when we begin to wonder, has he reached the climax of his career? And maybe last season, sometimes you can't help but wonder to say, was it that the climax of his career in a Liverpool jersey? I think there is too many stars now, and also Trent left with respect to Frimpong. Trent is levels ahead. Rashford scored, by the way. Wow, congratulations to him if indeed he did score. So yeah, what you say about there being too many stars. So once you look at, if let's say Alexander Isak is to come in, then combine that with Hugo Ekitike, I get the feeling that attention may want to shift a little bit away, maybe consciously or subconsciously, away from Mo Salah, to say, because how do you then tell Alexander Isak to come back so deep, do donkey's work, and you have Mo Salah waiting on the other side, and yet Isak is now your primary target man, he's your number 9, he's your striker, you get. But if, let's say, Hugo Ekitike is played on the flanks, let's say on the left wing, then it may not be of the same impact if, let's say, he's played on that side and then Florian Wirtz, is played as the false 9 and things like that. So there's going to be a bit of variations to that. Salah misses a penalty again. Yeah. What's up? Good. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Salah missing a penalty that really, really makes the news. And that game, like I said, finished 3-2. Yes, I was following the game. Cody Gakpo scored a brace in that game. Initially I thought it had been Hugo Ekitike that had scored that goal, but unfortunately it wasn't him because of the way he celebrated. I thought he had actually scored the goal. So yeah, but in terms of Barcelona, have been very serious when it came to their preseason games. They've been fielding, very strong teams. But yeah, I can see Marcus Rashford squad. Again, he didn't start. Lewandowski, Rafinha, Pedro Fernandes, Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Frenkie de Jong, Gerard Martin, Ronald Araujo, Jules Koundé, Balde. I mean, Joan Garcia. That's Barcelona's best team, arguably. Really. You wouldn't change much if you wanted to. So Pedri have millions of these. New profile pic once again. Rodrigo, he seems to be changing those for fun. Who is that now? Is that some saint or Mother Mary or something? What's that? Anyways, guys, it's been 1 hour and 5 minutes, coming on to 6 minutes of us doing this. It's been a bit of a long day. Allow me go do some other work before I can go to bed, because I have another 1.5 hours to do some work before I can go rest. So allow me, end this one here. But it's been really nice to have you guys around. Araujo tried to steal Gavi's second goal. Thank you, Pedri. Thank you so much, Real Madrid. Rodrigo, thank you so much, Testa of life. Virish, Kadroli, hip hop dancer, Jacob John, the South Sudanese based in America over there. So, and every single one of you that tuned into today's broadcast. Read my comment above, please. Exactly, it's just a friendly. Araujo tried to steal Gavi's second goal. I read that, if that's what you meant. Yesterday, 0-5-0, Barcelona, Gavi became Xavi. Anyway, wouldn't that be the dream if they were to replace Xavi perfectly? I mean, Xavi was, just different level when it came to dictating play in that Barcelona midfield for those years. No, the above. Which above? I read the one of the too many stars at Liverpool, where you mentioned Frimpong, and I mentioned the one of Marcus Rashford scoring, and I saying congratulations to him. Then new profile pick for Rodrigo. I read that. Roger stealing Gavi's second goal. I read that. So yeah, I've read all of them. I've read all of them. You wanted me to read? Yes. For now, I will take a draw against Barcelona, as they will be world population. No, as there will be world pollution if any team wins. What about you, Pedri? Anyways, guys, it's a 1/4 the hour of midnight here in Kampala, Uganda. So allow me wish you a blessed night. No, there is one you didn't read. The one after Pedri has millions of these. Which one is that? I can't find the comments. I can't find the comments. I just can't find the comments. But anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure. Let's meet again tomorrow. Let's do this again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. East African time. Bye-bye for now.